Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host Chris Tysis, and we're here with the NNN Show talking about GAMMA.CON Lite event that they were hosting this year, and today that they announced that the Canberra pop culture event has been cancelled. Now, I am not surprised at all. I think when they announced the event, I said to myself, 3 months and it's going to get cancelled. And the surprising thing is, and we love GAMMA.CON, right, here on Nintendo Ninja News. We've done movie-length videos about the affair from 1.5 hours to 3 hours over the years from 2016, 17, 18, and 19. Obviously, last year was cancelled due to the start of the pandemic, and everyone was still trying to adjust to this new COVID normal and trying to work out, how life will be. And everything was a mess last year. So the committee of GAMMA.CON decided to host a light event, which was like probably a smaller scale event, in December, a week before Christmas. And so, some people were a bit surprised about that, sort of the timing of it. And I think they announced this somewhere in the middle of the year, a little later on this year. I don't quite know the time. And some people said on social media, why you're hosting it a week before Christmas? And they said that was the best time that they could get for this year. Now, my issue is, I think GAMMA.CON Lite was doomed from the beginning, and it shouldn't have happened at all. You shouldn't have had an event happening this year. We know that PAX was announced and cancelled as well, which is the big video game convention, which is in Melbourne. And obviously Melbourne has very high cases. And even when GAMMA.CON Lite was announced, the COVID situation in New South Wales, which basically surrounds the ACT in Canberra, their numbers were getting starting to be on the march upwards. And I think the problem with hosting an event this year was the majority of the country is not vaccinated. There's still going to be a lot of lockdowns. And even if the event moves forward and you were going to a convention a week before Christmas, which is a very bizarre time to have it, if you were dealing with lockdowns for most of the year and you had two choices, you go and see your family that haven't seen for probably a year or so, or you go to a pop culture convention. Now, which one would you choose? I think most people would not go to a convention and go see their family, especially when you probably organise that type of stuff a week before Christmas, and you would travel interstate and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, looking at the situation here in Australia, that's not going to happen. I think lockdowns are going to be happening for the next X amount of months. And I think people will be having a lot of Zoom and webcam type gatherings around Christmas time, which is terrible for New South Wales and probably the ACT, and Victoria looks like it's catching up in COVID cases daily, which is terrible to see. But I think the interesting thing about this was, it's not so the question of the event being hosted in December, but why do they even think they could host an event so close to Christmas, still making it this year when most of the country isn't vaccinated and lockdowns were happening? Because even if there wasn't any lockdowns happening now, if you were a betting person, you would probably say some sort of lockdowns will be happening during Christmas because that's where lots of people are moving around, right? People are going interstate, people are getting on flights, people are traveling across the border all the time. So I don't really understand why GAMMA.CON decided that hosting an event this year around Christmas time was a great idea. Maybe they wanted to, try to put on some sort of happy event for Canberra people. I have no idea. But unfortunately, I felt like, and when I saw the announcement, back a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I can't remember to be honest, I said, it's pretty much doomed. It's just not going to happen during December. So I don't know what was in the committee's mindset in terms of, how you're going to run a successful event when you're doing it at Christmas time during a pandemic, and there was probably a high chance that even if there was no lockdowns during the year, it probably would have happened at Christmas time. There would have been a shoot up of numbers and that for that sort of thing. So, we love GAMMA.CON. We want them to come back, but not during a pandemic, and not when the vaccine rates are low, and not, a sort of shonky, silly little event at Christmas time, which really logistically and logically didn't make a whole lot of sense during a Christmas time event. So, maybe do what PAX does and do an online event, but the problem is they're more into pop culture and cosplay, and that's a little difficult to do something online. So I think what they should have done is not done 2021 at all, and should have just said, look, we'll be back bigger and better in 2022. You would think by then that the majority of the country will be vaccinated by, that August time period when they normally host this type of event. And, there'll be talks about, some of the borders will probably be opened up, and there'll probably be talks about booster shots by then. So yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense about the whole GAMMA.CON Lite thing. So when I heard about it, I didn't think it was going to happen. It didn't happen. So, a lot of people were disappointed about the announcement, but I think most people are understandable. But for me, the event should have never been created in the first place, and they should have, drummed up some online events that people could attend and said, hey, look, we're doing this next year in 2022. We'll bring it back bigger and better. It will be 2 years, it'll be since 2019 since we've had an event. So there will be a lot of people excited, wanting to go after, the pandemic has slowed down, and all of us, or most of us, will be vaccinated, and we can go and have a successful event without lockdowns and all that sort of thing hovering over their heads. So that's all I've got to say on the moment. I do look forward to going back there to the event and doing a little movie or photos and stuff like that. Whatever happens, happens. I have no idea what's going to happen next year for us here in NNN Engineers. But yes, I think conventions and that sort of stuff is just not a no-go for the time being. And of course, if you want these sort of things to happen next year, you do need to be vaccinated. It does make sense. So that's it for me, and I shall see you next time.